The whole point of having a state is to serve the national interests of their nation, their citizens, right? So, as an Iranian or as an Israeli, when you're talking to the Americans, like you shouldn't go and tell them like, "Hey, do this for us." Your job is to try to convince Americans or Israelis or any two other countries that are talking with each other or trying to collaborate with each other, work with each other, is to highlight the alignments that we have, right? So the alignment that we have with the United States when it comes to our goals is that we hate the Islamic Republic and they hate the Islamic Republic, right? So if they're that's a good element to have, even if it's not a 100% overlap. So as an American citizen, you you might care about what's happening to the Iranian people, but obviously, just like every family cares about their, like as a father, you would care about your daughter more, like than someone else's daughter. That doesn't mean you don't care about them. Just means you prioritize your daughter, right? So Americans have to be told why should we care beyond the fact that this is a tragedy for the Iranian people. Like, what is it? What do we get out of this, right? Because remember, your state is not a charity, right? If you care about other people, you could like you have charities for that, right? So we like the Americans, if they want to get their military involved, I mean, they're paying for it. We Iranians, for example, in America, we have to like show how getting rid of the Islamic Republic is beneficial to United States, and the benefit outweighs the cost. Like this is what you need to do. This is what educating people. And again, when I say educated, I'm not suggesting that like obviously as from an Iranian position, an Iranian or an Israeli would know more about the Middle East than an American because this is our neighborhood, like just in the same way that an American would know more about their neighborhood than we would know, right? So our job is to show them that we are there fighting the Islamic Republic, and if they assist us, we will we Iranian people ourselves would do so much to take out America's number one enemy. This is the relationship United States and Israel have with each other. Israel is so beneficial for United States because with just a little bit of support from United States, Israel is doing so much more that benefits United States than United States would have gotten if if they had to go into the Middle East and kill their enemies themselves. It would have been more costly. This is why some people who think that supporting Israel is not America first don't understand. Supporting Israel is America first because it would have been so much more expensive and so much more costly to the Americans to try to go into the Middle East and get American soldiers to kill their enemies there. Israel is doing a beautiful job doing this, taking out their own enemies is at the same time taking America's enemies with a fraction of the cost if the Americans had to do that, right? So if United States priority is that we can't accept any nuclear weapons for the Islamic Republic, then that's fine. That could be their priority. We have to show, we and many other Americans, like Lindsey Graham or Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio, need to explain to Americans that there is no way for the Islamic Republic to avoid going nuclear other than regime change. Like, there is no way. Like, there is no military intervention, no negotiation, no progress, no reform. There's nothing, absolutely nothing that will stop the Islamic Republic from going nuclear. One way or another, these people are going to go nuclear. So even if America wants to focus only on nuclear, I mean, they're not focusing on nuclear only. They're prioritizing nuclear. So that's what I think JD Vance wanted to say. JD Vance is not saying we don't care about the Iranian people. He's not saying we don't care about the ballistic missiles. He's not saying we don't care about the proxy groups. Obviously, they care about all of that, but they care about nuclear more than everything else. That's the main focus. But even in a hypothetical situation where they cared about nothing else, they didn't care about the Iranian people one bit. They didn't care about the ballistic missiles one bit. They didn't care about the proxy terrorist groups that the Islamic Republic supports one bit. And the only thing they wanted was to make sure that they don't go nuclear. That even by just focusing on that, they would be aligned with the Iranian people because the Iranian people want regime change, and the Americans should also want regime change if they want the Islamic Republic not to go nuclear. Does that make sense, Blake?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I totally agree.
Okay, fantastic. All right.
Okay, next I have Eric Sharifi.
Hey guys, I've been dropping in and out. I had a bit of trouble with the connection, but I'm not sure if this has been taken up. But the Crown Prince had a meeting today with President Zelensky uh,
Yes.
in Ukraine, and I think this is a major milestone for the European involvement because Zelensky has stated that the Islamic Republic is a threat to the national security of Ukraine since they provide the Shahed drones to Russia. And now this opens the door for Europe in the context of saying that pressuring and maybe even supporting Pahlavi officially is helping the security of Europe. So I think this is a huge, huge milestone that's been today.
Right. So so yeah, they met in Munich. So and this was really great, and I could share. By the way, Eric, can you mute your mic because I'm hearing some background. Sorry about that. Yeah, so that's actually a very good point. Let me actually share the meeting and maybe also read President Zelensky's statement. Actually, let's play the video first. Okay, let's just do the video here. What we have heard is approximately 40. All right, so now let's read the statement by President Zelensky saying, I met with exiled Crown Prince of Iran, Prince Reza Pahlavi, in Munich. Ukraine supports the Iranian people as they are fighting for their future. We also express our sympathy to all the victims of the Iranian regime. During our conversation, we focused on the situation in Iran and the areas. By the way, guys, see how Zelensky is referring to the prince as the Crown Prince of Iran, which is, very respectable way of referring to him, which is really good. So that was good. So saying during our conversation, we focused on the situation in Iran and the areas where the Iranian people need support. We discussed the importance of strengthening sanctions against the Iranian regime and any other dictatorial regimes. We condemned the cooperation between Russia and Iran, in particular the supply of Shaheds, these are Shahed drones, by the Iranian regime to Russia and the granting of licenses for their production. Such a partnership poses a real threat not only to Ukraine but to the entire region. I thank Crown Prince of Iran for supporting Ukraine's territorial integrity. It is vital to make every effort to protect human lives. Ukraine is ready to help on its part. So a lot of people don't understand how might not understand that this is actually more significant than people realize, because this is an official recognition of a president of a country, of Princess of Pahlavi's recognition by a president of a country as the crown prince of Iran, right? And the representative of the Iranian people. This is a huge win. This is a major win in the legitimacy of Princess of Pahlavi, right? So this is a nightmare for the Islamic Republic because this increases his international standing, and it's a major, major challenge to the legitimacy of the Islamic Republic, because he's meeting with the president. He's not meeting with like a Marco Rubio, which is not the president of a country, or Gila Gamliel, which is not the prime minister of Israel, or Lindsey Graham, which is not the president of the United States. It's not any of those. Okay, it's a president. He's meeting with a president of a country. So even though Israel and United States are very significant, but remember, Princess of Pahlavi's like is not endorsed, and I mean shouldn't be right now, by Prime Minister Netanyahu or President Trump. It's mostly just he's met with Rubio, Lindsey Graham. In Israel, it's mostly Gila Gamliel. But this is a president of a country officially recognizing him as the representative of Iran. So this is a major, major win for us. And also, guys, another reminder why Iranian people, other than the flag of United States and Israel, sometimes you see in the rallies they bring the flag of Ukraine, right? I don't know if you guys noticed that in the protests outside of Iran, when there's Iranian people rally, you often see Ukrainian flags. So the number one flag that you see is obviously the Lion and Sun flag. The two other main flags that you usually see they bring is the US flag and the Israeli flag. But the fourth most common flag that they bring with them is the Ukrainian flag. So that sometimes people find that interesting. Because many Iranians see eye to eye with the Ukrainian people, because Iranian people consider Putin to be an enemy as well, especially because the Russia's support for the Islamic Republic, and a lot of Iranian people historically are very angry with most Russian leaders, because historically they have supported all our enemies, all the enemies of the Iranians. So this is why many Iranian people have some aligned goals with the Ukrainians, and they support Ukrainians fight against Putin, and this is why you see them carrying the flag. Jeffrey, you wanted to add something to this? Okay, quickly. I know it's hard, but if you could do it, swear. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So it's not just that President Zelensky recognized His Highness Prince Reza Pahlavi as Prince Reza Pahlavi. He said the exiled prince. Why is that significant? Because recognizing there's a reason what you and Goldie did yesterday on the petition is so important, right? Having the transition government being led by His Highness Prince Reza Pahlavi, hopefully with some other people on the panel, so you maintain solidarity, right? Means that now, as the officially recognized government of Iran in exile, that streamlines a lot of different legal and regulatory hurdles for providing lethal support to anti-mullah elements in Iran.
Danny, can you put the entire list in the chat when you have the time?
Yeah, 1 second. Next, I have Ali.
Oh, I think Eric. Before we go to the next person, Eric, did I answer your question?
Yeah, I didn't really have a question though. I just wanted to bring it up, but
Yeah.
may I just add to that really quick? I think we shouldn't underestimate President Zelensky, because his name, because he's been built up during the last couple of years really hard by the European leaders, and they've invested really hard into him as like a character. So
Okay.
his word carries weight now.
All right, sounds good. I'm hearing a keyboard sound in the background, but okay. But that's a good point. Thank you, Eric. All right, Danny, I think it's your mic that is open. We're hearing a lot of
Oh,
keyboard.
sorry.
Noise.
Yes.
That's okay. Okay, so who's next? Did you say?
Ali.
Yes, thank you, Armin. Mine actually has to do with more of what Prince Pahlavi said at the conference in Munich. He was asked a question that came from someone in the crowd, and I apologize if I don't know her name, but it was more in regards to establishing institutions, regarding like how people are going to rage after the government has fallen, and how they're still going to be upset and they want their justice, so to speak. And Prince Pahlavi mentioned, and I thought it was, in my opinion, one of the best MVP answers, even though the whole interview was amazing, to be honest, on how he responded. I kind of liked how he said that we're going to look at other models, such as South Africa, such as when the Soviet Union fell and what Russia did afterwards. Can you give me your analysis? Do you think even in a model that wasn't proven, is it important to look at those models still? Because some things can be taken away that can help Iran's new government, obviously, establish its institutions to be on a better foundation than what those models portray.
The person who asked the question, her name is Nazanin Bonyadi. She's an actress, and she's been active in the opposition. I was glad. We're a little bit skeptical about her because she hasn't been posting a lot about Princess Pahlavi, but she seems to have been friendly in the conference towards him, so that was good to see. But I need to talk to my Persian audience on the Persian side to see what we think about her. But regarding your question, yeah. So, for example, yeah, I mean, this is one thing really good with regards to Princess Pahlavi's team, is that the level of sophistication and the level of expertise and that they have in their team, and the open-mindedness and the the level of research that they're doing, like I'm sure you have, but everybody here would be very impressed if they go and study the Iran Prosperity Project. Regards, like it's not just uh, it's on a different level. Like when it comes to anything that I've seen, when it comes to people, not just within the revolution in Iran and all the other attempts to create a team of experts to come up with a plan to what to do for the revolution, for the transition, and for after the transition. It's not just the best we have ever had in our history of our fight against Islamic Republic. I'm gonna make this claim, and it sounds like it might sound exaggerated, but I could challenge you to challenge me on this, right? But you could push back if you want. I'll tell you why I think that, but I honestly think that this is the most organized, well planned, sophisticated, academic, researched, organized revolution plan in the history of revolutions in general, right? If you actually study it, right? The way, if you go and see what these people are doing, and they're very, very, you know, non-ideological, empirical, like they're looking at data and analyzing things so objectively, like it's so impressive. The Princess of Pahlavi's team, the Nufti team, the people who wrote the emergency booklet plan for the first 100 days after the Islamic Republic falls, it's just so impressive. So, and yes, like Ali is mentioning, they're looking at every other country, not for every phase, not just for the post transition phase, but for the transition phase and for the revolution phase as well. They're looking at historically all other countries, everything that has happened everywhere in the world, the good, and as Ali pointed out, and also the bad, right? And yeah, you can learn a lot from the bad. For example, from the Soviet Union perspective, one thing we want to do, for example, in Iran, once the Islamic Republic falls, is privatization, right? Because right now the IRGC controls most of the industries in Iran. Any industry that grows, at some point IRGC is going to come and take over, and most of our business is controlled by the government, and the private sector is extremely weak and is not able to compete with the IRGC. It's basically, it's like it's not just a monopoly, it's like monopoly over most industries the IRGC that has. And you can I mean, I hope most people here recognize that a strong economy requires a very strong private sector, right? So we need to go through privatizations of our industries. However, we also have to pay attention to, for example, the Soviet Union. When they fell, they did privatization, and it failed miserably because they were doing it really fast and very unorganized, right? It made it so that most of the people from the Soviet Union managed to just be able to come and grab everything really quickly. And now they turn it now the same people that were in charge before now are controlling most of the industries in Russia. So privatization is good, but we have to learn from other people's failures. Apparently, like doing it really quickly and without planning is going to backfire, right? So even we have to do it slowly and with like a lot of planning ahead of time. So that's something that you could learn from the Soviet Union. Yeah, so you shouldn't just be looking at the countries that have the correct model and have done things properly. You should also learn from countries that failed and learn from their failure and figure out why they failed. All right, so
And
Danny, what are we doing next?
next we have Jeremy. We gotta really hurry up. So if the topics are running long, I don't think we can take responses in
Okay,
one study.
Jeremy. Yeah,
I mean,
the good. Yeah,
yeah,
go on.
uh,
Go on,
yep,
Jeremy.
thanks what you and Goldie are doing in respect to the brave Iranian people. Just had a few comments, and I just wanted to get to some thoughts about the day after in Iran. Just with what you're saying about the UN, I don't think the UN should ever be anything more than just people coming together to have chat and de-escalate things. It's always going to be corrupt. Nations will always vote in their best interest, not in what is morally right, and they can always be paid off by richer nations to vote one way or the other. What you're saying about might is right. I think that applies more to science and engineering. If you've got the right idea of science and how the universe works, and you'll be able to build a car that works. I think countries like US and Germany got very powerful because they've got a lot of rivers and cheap transportations that made them good manufacturing bases for building things for war and building their economies to. So that's why they became powerful. And geography also, that also implies the political systems. What's a good political system for the US may not be a good political system for Russia that doesn't have that manufacturing base and needs to have strong central power. But anyway, also some things you're talking about with, I think what you're saying about that you're considering other, or that the transitional government may be considering other things apart from just tried and tested things like democracy. I think that's a really good idea because, I mean, democracy might be the best system out there, but it's not. I mean, you look at the adversarial system in democracy is good idea to use it, but the way it's done is very not constructive. All the incentives are wrong. So if you've got a blank slate to build a government, I think you'd be doing very well if you can come up with a better system than anyone's got. I mean, I'm not a US hater. I think they've been the best empire the world's had, but I think they've then their track record still, even though they might be better than any other empire for other countries around the that's not part of the empire, they're still not been that great, and they're not going, I don't think, in a good direction. So no insult to Jeffrey, but I think President Trump is an abnormality. If you had Biden, you had Harris, I don't think you'd be changing the regime in Iran. And there's no the way that the way things are going, you could end up with Tucker Carlson or someone like him as the next president on the right wing. So I wouldn't be relying on the US to be a great superpower. And I'm very hopeful that if the regime can fall in Iran, then an alliance between the ancient people of Iran and the other indigenous populations in the Middle East could bring a lot of good to the world. So, like, Iran, Israel, the Druze, the Yazidis, I think that could push back.
Jeremy, you brought a lot of points that I need to go through. So let me try to go through them. So last point before I go through them, because that's
Can
a
I
lot
just
of
make
things that I-
one more quick thing? Is that I just
Yeah.
hope as well that if Iran does set on a good way when it starts off, it doesn't become corrupted like the left wing has, and like and MAGA is being corrupted as well by bad players, and that you don't get corrupted with the money that's going to come in and try and change you.
All right, so let me actually go through all of this. Okay, first of all, I didn't say might makes right. I say that if you're right, you will get might. Okay, so the causation, the might doesn't mean that you're right, but if you are on the right side, you are more likely to become powerful because you have the right methods and the right values, and your economy is going to grow and your people are going to be happy and you're going to be able to afford bigger armies, right? So the direction of the causality is the other way around, and this is not just regarding engineering and science. I also believe that this applies to society and values and culture as well. When it comes to what makes societies progress faster, there are different theories. So if you read Guns, Germs, and Steel, you would get an understanding, like based on what you just said, that maybe it's geography, it's geographic determinism. If you read a book like Why Nations Fail, you would think they would come to the conclusion that it's the power of institutions. Whoever has the best institutions, and that's going to be that's the main determining factor of what society makes societies progress faster. The third theory is that it's the culture. People with the superior culture are the people who are going to be winning, and all of these are to some. I think all of these are to some extent true, and sometimes they might exaggerate. I lean on all of this being true, but also the fourth theory that I really agree on and want to focus on a lot more is liberty, and this is what I try to advocate for. I think the most significant determining factor is liberty, because nobody will know what the right way is until it's tested and it survives in a competitive Darwinian model. Like, I don't think like people writing books, philosophizing, and thinking about the best methods are going to ever be able to compete with just allowing everything to be tested out and through basically just like the evolutionary process in nature, but with living things. When you have more liberty, more things, the emergent property of this competitive need, and basically classical liberal values means that you create some limitations, so you protect the framework, so you have the rule of law, you have border integrity, you fight corruption, but beyond that you let everything go. And in this environment, whatever works will survive. And this is why the more liberal you are, the more free your people are, the more prosperous you will become, the more advanced your country will become, and the faster you will progress. Because as the failure of communism showed us that there are no experts that could determine what is the best way to run the economy, and the failure of fascism showed that there are no experts that would be able to be philosopher kings and decide better than better than the wisdom of the crowd what is the best way to politically run a society. So liberty, I think, and having the competition between different methods and different values, and letting the ones that don't work fail, and the ones that do succeed to be determine how we move forward. That's why liberty is key, in my opinion, right? And this is why I'm very hopeful for the future of Iran, because Iranian people want liberty, right? And it's not just democracy, because democracy is part of these values. Democracy is not the whole thing. That's why instead of democracy, and I say liberty, right? When it comes to saying you seem to have faith in the US, but the US has its flaws, I mean, the fact that we even have to point out that US has flaws shows how amazing the United States is, that we need to be reminded that it has flaws. Okay, the fact that you might even forget that it has flaws, to me suggests that they're so like nobody has to remind you that the CCP has flaws, right? Like if you come and say like, "Hey, the CCP has flaws," people will look at you like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Of course the CCP has flaws." If somebody comes and tells you that Putin has his flaws, people think like you're retarded. Like, of course Putin has flaws, but the fact that yeah, of course United States has flaws, but the fact that you have to remind people that it has flaws shows how ahead of other states they are, that reminder is even needed. So yeah, when I support the United States, I'm not claiming that they are perfect, obviously. I'm just claiming that when it comes to the values that we are supporting, they are founded based upon it. And obviously sometimes maybe they don't abide by it completely, but they're the main supporters of it, right? And their economy shows it, and their military shows it, and not only their economy and the well-being of their people and their laws shows it, it also, I mean, technology, and the technology shows it. But beyond that, their economy influences the rest of the planet, their culture influences the rest of the planet, and their military influences the rest of the planet in a positive way. So even if it's not 100% perfect, through osmosis the whole planet, I mean, many people don't understand the influence, the level of influence that America's United States economy, culture, and military has. Like if you actually compare it to all the other countries around the world, United States is like a sun that all the other countries are the planets that are just orbiting around it. That's how influential the United States is. Like when it comes to, like, a lot of people don't understand the the US culture is so widespread that we don't even notice it because we're swimming in it. Like the rest of the world is swimming in it and they don't even notice it, because it's like fish swimming in water that doesn't notice water. Like when it comes to music, when it comes to the structure of the government, and I mean, the fact that you even have in every other country, you have three branches of the government. That's a US invention, right? The fact that every place on the planet, when you walk into a mall, is either music from their country or it's an American song. The fact that in every country in the world, when you go to their theater, either it's a movie from their country or an American movie. I mean, recently Koreans have also been able to compete, but like they're present everywhere. The fact that all of us here from around the world that we're speaking English, okay, that's because of American dominance, right? We're lucky that that's the case. Obviously, none of us would want the play for China or Russia to take America's place, right? So you deal with what you have. The choice that you have right now when it comes to dominance around the world is America, Russia, and China. I mean, I don't know if Russia is actually maybe it's just China and America, right? I know what I'm voting for. I know which team I belong to, right? So I'm on Team America, even if I'm not looking for a perfect America. I'm just looking, honestly, like the fact that so many of the values that make the world a better place is the same values that America is defending around the world. I think even if it was half of this, even if America was standing for half of the things that they're standing for, I would still be supporting America. I think like we should be really appreciative of United States being in this world. I mean, the world. Look at how the world is with American dominance compared to everything that the world experienced before America was the world power. It's just night and day. Like the level of prosperity, stability around the world is of science and technology. I mean, what technology doesn't come from America? What science hasn't been because of America? Like international trade around the world is possible because of the security that America's military is providing globally. Like everything, if America was not the global power right now, everything would be more expensive everywhere. People would be dying more everywhere. More people would be going more hungry everywhere. Like America is a country that shows up first before any other country when there is a disaster anywhere around the world. Anybody who wants to point America's flaws better also spend 10 times the time that it points America's flaws into celebrating all of the great thing that America stands for, or else they're being a hypocrite. So America is a great country because people criticize it, and it's a place where you can criticize your politicians. So I'm not against criticism, but if you want to be fair, then for every criticism, you have to spend 10 times the amount of time basically pointing out how great of a country is, right? And when you talk about Biden and Trump, I think America's greatness is beyond its presidents. And even if we have some shit presidents sometimes, it would be a temporary setback. The superiority of American values and what America stands for is so foundational within the country, within its constitution, and within its institutions, then it's beyond its presidents. So bad presidents will just make it temporarily for America. It makes it a temporary setback, but eventually America will be. And again, America is moving in the right direction. I completely disagree that when you say America is moving in the wrong direction, the gap between America and the rest of the world is widening. It's not shrinking, it's widening. America's economy is growing faster. America's military is becoming more powerful. America's influence when it comes to technology and culture around the world is increasing. So America is moving in the right direction. And yeah, so and I support that.